Immanuel Kant, the sycophant. Kant, y'all. Enlightenment thinker. Late Enlightenment thinker. Butt-kissing Enlightenment thinker. I actually like a lot of Enlightenment guys. And the question for Kant today is, what then is the machine? So before we get really into the meat of this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, press the bell button. And if you are into hearing me talk about what I'm into, you dig this channel, join the Discord, link down below, where the conversation continues throughout the week. Okay, so in 1784, the very end of the year, Immanuel Kant writes the briefest of essays, really just a note, called What is the Enlightenment? Answering the question, what is the Enlightenment? And in it, he kneels and plants a nice, fat, wet kiss on the rear end of Frederick the Great. Have you seen the video put out by the company I work for, Kepler Education? We've been schooled. Scott Postma is the narrator for it. I'm going to share that video as well. And in it, he talks about the origins of our educational system. And our educational system, this factory for human beings, this machine for human beings, comes from Frederick the Great, comes from Prussia. Prussians suck, by the way. And if you're Prussian and you're watching, go ahead and flame up the the comment section. Man, we've just swallowed whole this educational system, which feeds the society itself, right? And I'm not going to get into the meat of that. You can watch the Kepler video for that. But instead, I want to actually read very briefly the last paragraph of Kant's essay, What is the Enlightenment? He starts this essay by talking about how the translation that I use says that man is leaving behind his nonage, which would be the opposite of a dotage. One's nonage is one's time of immaturity, right? And we're no longer just believing or obeying without arguing. And before I start unpacking that even further, let me read this quote. Okay. Now realize that this is written way into the period that historians and philosophers will label the Enlightenment. This is just 3 or 4 years before, so it's the end of 84. So it's like 4 years before the French Revolution, right? And so we're talking about, we're 100 years into the Enlightenment. Okay, he is part of the establishment. He's saying the things that Frederick already believes. And he says at the very end of this essay, but only the man who is himself enlightened, who is not afraid of shadows, and who commands at the same time a well-disciplined and numerous army as guarantor of public peace, only he can say what the sovereign of a free state cannot dare to say. Argue as much as you like, and about what you like, but obey. Thus we observe here, as elsewhere in human affairs, in which almost everything is paradoxical, a surprising and unexpected course of events. A large degree of civic freedom appears to be of advantage to the intellectual freedom of the people, yet at the same time it establishes insurmountable barriers. A lesser degree of civic freedom, however, creates room to let that free spirit expand to the limits of its capacity. Nature then has carefully cultivated the seed within the hard core, namely the urge for and the vocation of free thought. And this free thought gradually reacts back on the modes of thought of the people, and men become more and more capable of acting in freedom. At last, free thought acts even on the fundamentals of government, and the state finds it agreeable to treat man, who is now more than a machine, in accord with his dignity. So now, man is more than a machine. He has been enlightened, okay? He audes to sapere. He dares to know, he dares to be wise, and so he has become more than a machine. Before the enlightened age, he was but a machine, just doing what a book says, doing what his leaders say. Who then, or what then, is the machine, Kant? Because there's going to have to be some sort of machine. According to Merriam-Webster, a machine is a mechanically, electrically, or electronically operated device for performing a task. That's the first definition. Or the second definition is one that resembles a machine, as in being methodical, tireless, or consistently productive. Consistently productive. That's what people are supposed to be. Cogs in a machine. A machine is a combination of persons acting together for a common end, along with the agencies they use. A highly organized political group under the leadership of a boss or small clique, or a living organism, or one of its functional systems. All of those are machines. So if I go back to the beginning of this paragraph, which ended with man is more than a machine, what is the machine? The state. This well-disciplined and numerous army that is guarantor of the peace. What Kant is saying here to Frederick is, for man to truly reach maturity, you need to keep doing what you're doing. You need to be a dictator. You need to make the state a machine. And once the state is sufficiently a machine, you're going to find that just perfect balance. Man is going to mature, and then the state will find it agreeable to treat man in accord with his dignity. Where he gets his dignity from, I don't know. Kant ends this whole thing with the idea that man is more than a machine by urging that the state be a machine. And it's no accident. So we rolled into the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution, but very quickly, modernism collapsed. Enlightenment positivism collapsed. And we were left with techniques of human management. We were left with isms that are about controlling humans. We were left with Marxism, with socialism, with communism, with fascism, all of those just some form of statism. Because if man is not the machine, then the state is the machine. So we go from an age where every man is his own machine to an age where every man is a cog. That's what Enlightenment thinking leads to. Immanuel Kant sucks, and he's late to the game, and he's a butt kisser. The peace of Christ be upon you.
Aí sim é um homem de verdade, não é esses troços do grupo não, essas carcaças velhas, uó, fim de carreira.
Cadê você, profeta, autarquia? Hein? Pedrada no inferno, fala comigo aí, matador de demônio. Hein?